going to aim to get to tonight. Can I also just begin by thanking the Sinn Féin grouping on the council for nominating myself to chair this committee for the year ahead. And I also take the opportunity just to wish the new council chair and my fellow committee chairs all the best as well. Can I just also remind members of standing orders and what they're about? They're here to facilitate the flow of meetings and the conduct of meetings. And I'll be adhering to them first, just so I can set the tone for the year ahead. Papers have been issued, as you know, since Friday, so at this stage I'm sure a lot of preparation has been done by yourselves. There's no way you want to come in what you want to speak on, so that should hopefully minimise the need for multiple interjections during the meeting. Can I also request, as per standing orders, just to follow as well the direction from the chair. With that said, folks, can I also just begin by following Councillor Maguire's lead last night by, in the interest of getting the agenda complete, all the important time urgent stuff complete, I'm going to move matters arising to the rear of the agenda, so we'll deal with that just before item 10. Okay. With that said, folks, can I move to the formal part of the agenda and take any apologies? I'll just go to the group leaders for that. So, Councillor McAduff.
No apologies from our group, the Sinn Féin group.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Warrington.
Apologies, Stephen, from the Ulster Unionist Group, and all the best for the year ahead.
Thank you, Victor. Councillor Garrity.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies on our side. And Stephen, best of luck on your role as Chair for the coming year. All right.
Thank you, Mary. And Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair, and all the best for your.
Just lost you there, Earl. Are you still with us?
Right. Yeah, I'm back here. All the best year ahead there, Chair, and we have no apologies from the DUP.
Okay, thank you, Earl. And have you any other apologies? Okay, so with that, we move on.
Sorry.
Yes?
Just Councillor McAleer here. Just want to clarify in terms of the standing orders and the order of business. I appreciate why it's being done, but there's a stated order of the business meeting. It's within the standing orders to proceed in the manner that we are doing, and I appreciate that it is. It makes sense.
Absolutely, and it's also within the discretion of the chair as to which way the meeting shall flow. So this hopefully will be the first meeting that we can get conducted in time. There's a number of time urgent things, as you can appreciate, Emmett, in the agenda. So we get that out of the way first when we aim then to address matters arising at the end. With that said, folks, can I move on to item 3, declarations of interest, please? Okay, Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. It's just item number 8 around staff matters. Obviously, my membership of a trade union. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Siobhan, Councillor Curry.
Clearly, and Amor. Just item 6.4, Stevie states a member on the DP, but I'll be staying in. It's just an update. Gurmarket.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good luck in the year ahead. Just item 6.2, membership of the audit panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. With that, folks, we'll move on into, sorry, Councillors, Chief Executive, Alison.
Chair, thank you. If I could just under item, beg your pardon, Chair, item 14, and it's item 2.5, just an update on appraisal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Estate 6.4, community gym. Declaration of interest.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Okay.
Chair. 6.2, Audit Committee, for Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Are we happy enough to move on? Yep. Okay. So moving into the agenda proper then, so I'll go to 5.1. This is a report in relation to the climate change and sustainable development update. Members have had the documents for a number of days there. The recommendation it's recommended that members note the update in relation to climate change and sustainable development matters. Okay, Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
Gar Mogad Carly agus Ganari Boherlat Lanham in the room or Trial News. Thanks very much, David. Congratulations again being appointed. Yeah, no, look, I'm happy to note the.
Just members, just again check your mics are on mute there, please. Okay, if you just mute, good man. Thank you.
Sorry,
Chris.
Yeah, that's better now. No, I'm happy to note the update, and I also would like to thank again the members of the Climate Change Resilience Group, and of course the council staff members who've worked so hard on developing this draft strategy, and also for the very creative and inventive way they have gone about the consultation. Obviously, we're not able to have the physical consultation that we would have liked with members of the public and young people, but I do note that they have went through a range of techniques to facilitate this. So, and also with the fair trade accreditation that the council is doing, there was a concern this would just be a sort of lip service or a kind of a tick box exercise. But however, I have full confidence that the steering group will be able to come up with very again creative and worthwhile ways to ensure that it is not just a tick box exercise. So yeah, happy to note the update, and again thanks to everyone involved. Garmogat.
Chris. Councillor Siobhan Curry.
Gormogget, Stevie, and I'm happy to second that. I just want to thank the staff for adapting and providing the alternative options to engage in the consultation on the draft strategy. In terms of the competition to name the strategy, maybe schools and youth clubs in the district could be advised of the competition just to let students know in their communications if they haven't already. Obviously, that's time critical. And also think it would be very important to try and engage our younger people on the strategy, and wonder, have we looked at maybe social media methods, maybe including Instagram, or I don't know, I don't think we have. Maybe just consider the messaging around strategies and consultations are terms that might excite all of us, but probably not that exciting to younger people who would provide very valuable input into this, I think. So I don't know if that needs a proposal. I'll make it if it's required.
I think we can note them comments, Siobhan. Yeah, Margaret's here, so she'll take note of them comments there if you're happy enough.
Just in the update there from the regional group, which Councillor and myself sit on, I particularly welcome the letter there from Sustainability NA to the DERA secretary just to step up engagement with councils. I think that's very, very important. And just Chair, finally, can I just commend, there's mention there of Dara McAnulty in that communication on his publication on the diary of a young naturalist. That has also been longlisted for Wainwright Prize, which is prestigious. It's particularly for nature writing. And members, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but Dara and his family do originate from our district. The book is actually covering a year in his life, where he moves from Fermanagh to the Mournes. But I think, I'd just like to go on record as congratulating Dara for that. I think it's a huge achievement for anybody to write a book, but to write one that's already received, such high praise, dealing with a year in his life from the point of view of a teenager with autism and Asperger's and his interaction with nature. I think it's very valuable, and I think it's just a huge achievement that I'm really hope just to recognise, and members mightn't also be aware, but Dara led the calls for climate action as well as Action 5 Diversity and Habitat Loss before it was cool. Actually, he took a lot of abuse for it and suffered for it. And I've had personal conversations with him myself. He's my Greta Thunberg, if you like. So he's an inspiration to me.
Siobhan, just conscious of time there. Appreciate your comments, but just conscious of the number of speakers there as well.
Just to note that, Stevie, I think it's an immense,
very important point.
We're very proud of him. Gormogget.
Cormac Siobhan, thank you. Councillor Gannon.
Sorry, Chair, I took my hand down. Just echo the comments that were made. I'll not repeat everything I said.
Thanks, Adam. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. And again, just to place on record our appreciation of Dara. I know he's a great supporter of the defence of the UNB as well. So it's great to see him getting the accolades and the recognition. Just in terms of the 12-week consultation that is noted for July to October, and there is reference made to the promotion and the advertisement of that. It would be great to get that advertised, I suppose, even any time starting from now, to make sure that the word is out there. Obviously, we have limited means to respond to this due to external circumstances, but the more we can promote and advertise this in advance, obviously, the better quality of feedback that we're going to be getting. So I'd just like that to be noted as possible as well, Chair. Thank you.
Don't foresee any issue with that. No problem. Councillor Deehan. Do we have you there, Josephine? Seem to have lost Councillor Deehan.
Yes, Councillor, can you hear me, Chair?
I've got you now, Councillor, yeah.
Yes, no, just to say that I joined the meeting at 19:08 hours and just to support the comments made by Councillor Curry. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. 5.2 on the agenda.
Mike, Stephen.
Sorry, can you hear me okay there, folks? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Didn't think it was muted there. Okay, moving on to 5.2. It is to seek your approval to commission a feasibility study on the installation of changing places facilities within council buildings, council facilities. This will be a very welcome initiative. It doesn't take much commentary, this piece. We're only going to seek approval to commission the study, so it'll be hopefully quite brief. Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's just to say that I welcome this coming forward. Obviously, we are one of the only councils now without one of these changing places facilities for those with disabilities and so on. And I'm happy to propose we move forward. In particular, I note that the proposal does not set out that we are limiting ourselves to a single facility. And I also note in particular that Fermanagh Lakeland Forum is the highest priority for the ranking. So,
Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Guruma Margaret Carly agus I more than Blian Hugging. I wish to second the proposal and look forward to the feasibility study. It's certainly badly needed in the district. Guruma Margaret Carly.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just wanted to say that this is very welcome. I know that those of us who are on the Disability Advisory Group have been lobbied extensively on this. Not having these facilities in place does place real limits in terms of the access to events and to many elements of our district. So very happy to see this go through and happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Councillor Thornton. Okay, Councillor Thompson there.
Chair, I was going to second there, but it was already seconded, so I took my hand down.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for that. Councillor Thompson.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Well, it's already been seconded, but I want to support it. And the Disability Advisory Group, Councillor Donnelly's right. We have been long hard on this one, so happy to support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. And Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just again, the support. I think it's interesting to note the only two facilities, registered changing places facilities in the council area are provided by Tesco and the health service. So it'll be vital that the council buys into this, and going forward, that is something that's implemented, and hopefully we can see it implemented across the district in all council buildings in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Okay, moving on, folks, to 5.3. Alison, just keep it right here. Do these require accuracy? Just for no case. So this is the commentary notes from the Health and Social Care Group held on 21st of April. brought to the council for information. And if we can take a proposer and seconder to note these, please. Councillor Gannon, are you proposing these?
Yeah, happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Michael Duff, I'm hoping you're going to second them. Barry, do we have you there?
Thank you. Yes, thanks, Chair. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. I want to second the, the noting of the healthcare meeting. Okay. Just checking if you hear me, Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you, Barry. Yes, that's noted.
I want to second that. Could I make a specific proposal without a lengthy discussion about a healthcare priority that this council could lobby on at this time?
Go ahead, Barry.
Okay, thank you. Can I propose that we write to the Western Health Trust that we ask for the upscaling, the promotion and integration of statutory and charitable mental health and vulnerable support services at this time? I think there could be an overwhelming of our health service in the winter if this isn't done, and mental health is a really, really important agenda for this council. We agreed that at the start of this mandate. There has been an increase in anxiety and isolation, domestic stress, financial stress, alcohol problems, reduced services availability. So my proposal is that we write to the Western Health Trust Chief Executive asking for an assurance that there will be, and I wrote these words down before the meeting, upscaling, promotion and integration of statutory and charitable mental health and vulnerable support services, and not least in the southern sector of the trust, because very often our community provision is less than it is in the northern sector of the trust. So that's a proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Barry. Okay, I could just at this point ask members who have spoken and may have left their hands up just to check, and if so, take them down. Next up there, I've got Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
Gormogad Carly, well, I'm just coming in just very briefly to second Councillor Michael Duff's proposals there.
Chris. Councillor Josephine Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. Just by way of an update in relation to this item, just to advise members that the paediatric services have been resumed at the Southwest Acute Hospital, which is very welcome. I want to support Councillor Michael Duff's proposal. I think he's perfectly correct. We do face many challenges in relation to mental health going into the future. Chair, I did actually raise this, and I did mention this by way of information at last night's meeting, but because my internet connection was so poor, I'm not sure that it was heard. But I just really wanted, and it's apropos to mental health issues and social issues, that there is a new initiative which has been initiated just this week, whereby GPs in the Southwest GP Federation area can refer to social services support. Now, this is a temporary facility which has been facilitated by the Western Trust, and it comprises a body of social workers, experienced social workers, who have been redeployed because their current positions are not functioning. And those social workers will support patients with issues relating to social care, relating to parenting issues, relating to domestic abuse, a lot of issues that they can address. So I would just like to highlight that to members so that they can bring it to the attention of their constituents that that service is available if they contact their GP. So it's a very, very valuable service. I welcome in particular, Chair, if you just give me 2 seconds, the progress that has been made in relation to supporting care homes. And I know that the Minister did introduce additional funding into this sector to help support those homes in providing quality services to protect residents from COVID, and that extra funding is welcome. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Josephine. Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. There's a lot of issues in this paper, and I won't get to speak on hardly any of them. Unfortunately, I just to welcome the fact that we have now seen the return of pediatrics and neonatal to Southwest Acute Hospital. We will probably get on to discussing the wider concerns that may exist around health transformation, I'm sure, at a later point. In regard to this paper, I just note that there was, in part 3, there was a paper to come back in regard to Meals on Wheels service that we had raised an issue on. As yet, there doesn't seem to be any firm position on this. They're currently looking at it, and I'm wondering if the council has received anything more on it. But the other thing is that a number of issues were made in this meeting that do not appear to have been formally recorded as raised. For example, at one point I would have raised the issue of patients being discharged from hospital with before they had confirmed COVID status as per testing. And obviously this was subsequently half responded to insofar as they said it's no longer happening. But my point was that it was happening previously, and I was looking for some clarification on that. I do note under on page 12 that they said that they were going to come back with a written response in regard to independent care sector and domiciliary care. I don't know whether that was meant to include the issue that I'd raised previously. And similarly, there was an issue in regard to oh God, there's so many issues here. But there was an issue. What I'm really asking is if these meetings, if these can have specific, if we can be more precise about including specific actions, if you get me, in terms of what they're supposed to come back to in the future.
Okay, Donal, your comments are noted there. I'll just invite the Chief Executive just to maybe comment on the end points, and then I'm going to move on to Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Yes, Chair, really just to note that we haven't received any follow-up to the various queries, and when we do, Chair, we will obviously forward those. The forum for discussion of these minutes will be the next meeting of the Health and Social Care Services Group. In terms of the style of the minutes, Chair, they would be the normal style that we would have taken. There haven't been any comments or concerns to date, and we can certainly review those at the next meeting of the group if required, but I'm mindful they have now been confirmed as proposed and seconded.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Gore Collier McGeer.
De Brún Ormar Carly vi me lav suas mar ben called a mistake. De Brún Orm.
Okay, Gore Margaret. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Just reading through the report here, as Councillor O'Coffey alluded to, there's some very interesting things, and it raises points that we're aware of to varying degrees. I note that, you know, in terms of PPE, there's note on that being an order for PPE placed in early March, which obviously reeks of a lack of forward planning, which is evident, I suppose, when you look across the water and see what is happening as led by the Tory government. And we're all aware of the lack of PPE that local services were undergoing, the strains and stress that put them under. And also page 7 relates briefly to issues in terms of nursing and care homes. And it states there that nursing care homes were always considered to be the most vulnerable in relation to COVID-19, and significant work had been undertaken to support them. I suppose with what has emerged through some very impressive investigative journalism in relation to how nursing homes and care homes were seemingly viewed as a way of clearing up hospital beds.
Councillor McAleer, we're just getting off the beaten track here. Just, you know, this is to note the minutes of the Health and Social Care Group. You know, if you want to include that, if you feel it's relevant to the health group, we can definitely include that in the forthcoming meeting of the Health and Social Care Group.
If this is something that's going to be brought back or investigated further, I think it is important that is followed up. Obviously, we've seen statements from the Chief Medical Officer, from the Department of Health, from the Minister. It's trying to get some closure on what actually happened there, and well, we know the order that was given, but I suppose the reasoning behind that, I think it, as I stated there, it's important to ensure care homes remain high on the agenda at this time. It really is important. So I'd appreciate if that can be noted going forward, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emmett, and that is a very important point, and duly noted. Thank you, Emmett. Okay, folks, thanks for your cooperation there. Moving on then, so to 6 on the agenda. 6.1, folks, is the draft financial position of the year ending 31st of March 2020. And we're all just out of a fairly detailed workshop there at 4 o'clock with Celine and Catherine and her team. And if I just, on your behalf, maybe thanks Celine and her team for the diligent work they've been at to date. And I think, this is why we're in such a fairly healthy position given all that's happened financially, so I think Celine and her team are fully deserving of our thanks. I'm not opening this up for debate. There's a list of speakers going up there, folks. I'm not going to open up for debate. There was a fairly healthy discussion and working through of this at that workshop. So what I'm going to seek from yourselves now with your cooperation is a proposal and seconder to note this report. So I've got Councillor Irving.
You just mimicked what I was going to say, Chairman. Well done, and a successful year. And all I'm going to do is propose the recommendations as at item 8, and that's A through to E. And my congratulations to Celine and her staff. They've prepared us in a very difficult circumstances. So well done. So that's my proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Many thanks for that. And if I'll just take a seconder there, please. I've got next up is Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Celine and her staff for the extensive explanation of the accounts earlier in the workshop, and I'm happy to propose or second the recommendations. Thank you.
Okay. I'm happy to take, there's 2 indicated to speak. I'm happy to take these 2 before we move on. That's Councillor Thompson and Councillor Wilson. Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I was going to second it, obviously, but I just want to support the comments of Councillor Irvine there, and thanks Celine and the team very much for all their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. And Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Chair. Congratulations on a good year, hopefully for you. I was going to second it as well, and looking through the documents to do with it, it's really well done, and thank you for your work. Okay.
Thank you, Bert. Okay, again, folks, just take a wee second to check your hands are all down there before we move on to 6.2, which is to note the minutes of the audit panel meeting held on the 23rd of April 2020. Again, this is for information, and if I can just take a proposer and seconder to note the document, please. Your proposer there, please.
I'll propose it, Stephen. Victor here.
Thank you, Councillor Warrington. Thank you. And a seconder?
I'll second Councillor Irvine.
Thank you. And we're all happy with that. Perfect. Okay, folks, moving on to 6.3. We have a document here in relation to procurement and tenders. Again, okay, a second there, councillors. Okay, folks, just going back to 6.2, we would require membership of that particular panel to propose and second that. We have those. Okay, if Councillor Green has chaired that, maybe might be willing to propose that. Seamus, are you there?
I propose it, Seamus, or Stephen.
And if I get a seconder from a member of the panel, please.
Councillor John Coyle, Stephen, and second.
Thanks a million, John. That's great. Thank you. Just bear with me a wee second, folks. I think there's just a wee discrepancy in relation to the membership of the meeting, so we'll just get it checked here. I think we're okay to proceed, are we? Okay, thank you. Okay, members, so where are we? We're 6 point, where are we now? 6.3, I think. That's to consider the procurement and tenders update. Again, there's maybe 1 or 2 key points in this which I might invite Celine to address, and we can go on to the proposal. So, Celine, is there anything that you want to comment on this?
Yeah, Chair, I suppose bearing in mind it's been a while since the last procurement report, the details included in this are 11 tenders awarded, 12 proposed tenders that are due to issue, a number of contract extensions, variations, then there is some information about tenders awarded, and then details about the overdue tender limit. And then there's a series of recommendations, but I'm happy to deal with any queries.
Okay, so a number of speakers here. Councillor O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Just two queries really. The first is on page 3. There's a tender there going for collection, treatment, and RDF processing, and I'm wondering how does that relate to the waste treatment in general? That's what component of that is that that we're looking at, just for clarification.
Just take all your comments first of all, Donal, and then we can get them addressed.
The second one is really around the grass cutting tender, and I'm wondering why the council is potentially tendering out for £100,000 worth of grass cutting when I'm sure that the council employees will be performing that task. So I'm just wondering whether that's what that's for.
Okay.
Chair, I can deal with the first one in relation to the grass cutting first and easiest. We do this for two reasons. One is to test the market and see that what the pricing is there and if it could be competitively delivered in that sense. And secondly, it is a capacity issue in that the extent of our grass cutting services across the district exceeds the resources that we have available. So we do use from time to time in certain areas external contractors to support the work that's done there. So it's not necessarily £100,000 per year. It's on a call-off basis. So it is. So it's used in as required to enhance and support our work there. So in relation to the RDF and SRF processing, I will have to check just the exact detail there, but I know that it is an element of our waste that again and a part of our recycling processes there, but I will confirm the specific details on that.
Okay, thank you, Celine. Just some more information to come back there. Is that Donal?
Can I just very briefly respond in both cases? The first is that the tender in regard to SRF and RDF is it's over £500,000. It's a lot of money for us to be passing here without being clear on what it is. But the second point in terms of tendering externally for grass cutting, I would have to express that I would be hugely reserved of that, because I don't agree that we should be outsourcing services that the council staff are best posed to deliver. I think it remains in-house, personally.
Okay, thank you for that, Donal. We've just noted down comments there. Celine, do you want to...
Just to comment, Chair, in relation to the quantity, the 517,000, that is likely to be over a number of years. Normally, whenever we're going to tender, it's for more than 1 year, so it could be 2 or 3. But I'll confirm in the detail of that just by email, just the specifics.
Okay, Councillor Irving.
Thank you very much, Chair. A couple of observations, a query to Celine, and then a proposal. Observation 1, I'm glad to see that the tenders coming in are sticking pretty close to the actual pre-tender estimates. There is one, though, on page 6. That's tender 020 for Killykeegan Visitor Amenity Development. Maybe if Celine could see why there's in excess of a 10% overrun from the pre-tender estimate to the accepted tender. That's one thing. I want to see if we can crunch that down. And I am happy to propose the recommendations on page 9. That's all 8A through to 8F. Unlike Councillor O'Coffey, I'm happy that we have a mix of in-house and external. It works well, and it has worked well in the past, and it is cost effective. So I'm happy to propose. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, Celine, do you want to comment there, or?
No, well, Chair, I don't have the detail in terms of the 10%, but I will include that in the further information to be provided.
Okay, and we'll just invite Alison to come in.
Yeah, Chair, it's just specifically on the Killykeegan tender, and just to advise that the majority of uplift there related to COVID-19 additional costs that came in. You'll have seen Councillor, from the deadline for that, and that was the main reason for the difference, social distancing and other requirements on behalf of the contractor.
That's right. I'm happy with that. Thank you very much, Alison. If we can try and claw that back, obviously, and any COVID-related issues, we'll do our best. Thank you very much indeed.
Robert. Councillor Green. Seamus, do we have you there?
Hear me?
Got you now, Seamus.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm having huge difficulty with this meeting. I have heard about 10 minutes of it so far. It's really frustrating for rural councillors. There's a number of times this has occurred, and I just want to ask the chief executive to get the legal opinion to see, is it actually feasible or even legal to go on ahead of these meetings when elected reps are being distanced by the fact that they can't actually get online on these things because of their broadband and because of the thing. So I'm elected the same as everyone else, and I think I should be entitled to participate in the meeting.
Okay.
Anyone heard that or not?
No, we've got you, Seamus. I'm going to, just because you've asked for comments from Alison, I'm going to invite you to come in there. Also, the IT team, Seamus, are just also, they've heard your comments, and James, I think, is going to make contact with you here now as well.
Yeah, well, no, Chair, just to confirm, and even within the regulations, I think it makes reference to heard or be heard as part of the requirements. I think that's the first indication I've had this evening from Councillor Green that he was unable to hear for any part of the meeting. I do know we had difficulties on another evening, and we can certainly follow up. There is also the opportunity to dial in via telephone, which other members are doing, and that has worked effectively. But certainly our IT colleagues will contact Councillor Green directly now, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Hopefully that'll get you sorted, Seamus, and do keep up the conversation with them and get you online. Councillor McAleer.
Well, can I just come in there again, because I don't think it will work, because there's been an ongoing problem, and IT and the officers already know about it. So it's an ongoing problem that hasn't been solved. I can't participate in meetings, and the fact that I hadn't come in earlier was because I couldn't come in, because I couldn't even hear what was going on. And when I was brought in there, I couldn't even get linked in.
Okay. They're advising there's a number of options, Seamus, so maybe if you want to liaise with the IT stroke CEO after the meeting. There's also, James, are you getting through there, Seamus, hopefully? So hopefully we can get something resolved, Seamus, for you ASAP. It's very important that all councillors are indeed heard and taking part in discussions and part of the decision-making process. Absolutely. Councillor Maguire.
I was actually just going to come in on the question of who is the call-in user. I thought perhaps that maybe the use of the phone was causing some interference. I'm noticing some interference tonight. It's just not quite as clear as usual. Again, I know, Chair, you're insisting on everybody putting off the microphone, etc. But it is just not as good a quality as usual tonight, and I'm just thinking that this phone may be causing a problem. I don't know why the phone's being used. Just to
the calling as a user, part of the team here who've dialed in as opposed to going on to the internet, maybe for broadband issues. But if it is causing you seem to disagree, it's not. But if it is causing an issue, Tommy, we can definitely look.
Sorry, Chair, I was just flagging it up in case it was causing the issue. It is, even for myself, it's just not as good a quality as usual.
No, thank you, Tommy, and that's noted as well. That's interesting. Just for information, the call-in user is Catherine Leonard, who is listening via call-in. Okay, Tommy, thank you. So, Councillor Swift, still seeking a seconder for this report as well.
I can second that report, Stephen, and I just want to support Councillor Green's proposal, to have that certainly immediately investigated. We talked last night about the full fibre network, and it's really proven that we need to expand our bandwidth, for moving forward into the future, which I think it would be something of a serious consideration that we must give in terms of our carbon footprint and everything else, and cost saving measures as well as. And the thing about it is too, it would be nice to be able to put on our videos, because I miss seeing you all so much. So support that. Very good. Guramagat. Add more art.
Thank you, Denise, and wish you luck as well. Councillor Irving. Robert, is your hand raised up in the air possibly, or got a final comment?
Sorry, my fault. I'm taking it down. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay, thanks, folks, and we're all agreed, proposed and seconded, and we're moving on.
Chair.
Sorry, Emmett, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were coming to me after Councillor Green.
Sorry, apologise.
I know it's just, I suppose, to come in on what the issue Councillor O'Coffey has raised, this payment of £100,000 annually to cut grass, when I suppose it would be my understanding that we would have resources, or we would have the ability to recruit for resources in-house. I would have thought at a much more reasonable rate than £100,000 per year. I'm sure there's not too many of the grass cutters are being paid anywhere near that. And secondly, just I'm not sure in relation to the £515,000 tender, was there going to be a bit more information given in relation to that? Just I wasn't quite clear on what the outcome of.
Just in relation, just to be clear, there's the tone. Please feel free to seek that information with the relevant officers. You know, we've got 5 days now of this document being out there, so it's not prudent to hold up the meeting to seek information on it, and I'm sure you'd appreciate that. Celine, do you want to comment any further in relation to them comments? I think they've been addressed already, but if you want to comment any further, if not, we can move on. Okay, we're happy to move on. Nope, we've got a proposer and seconder. Yeah, go ahead, Celine.
No volume, folks. Mary here.
Yeah, Celine, can you?
Can't hear other Stevie.
Can you hear me okay, folks?
No volume there, Stephen.
Stephen, I think your earphones maybe are causing maybe an issue with sound for yourself.
How's that, folks? Any better?
Better.
You're loud and clear, Stephen.
Okay, thank you. No, that's grand, James. I'm okay now. Okay, thank you, folks. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we've got a proposer and secondary here. I plan to move on. I've got 3 speakers left. If you can keep it very, very brief, folks. Councillor Feely.
Thank you, Stevie. I just want to wish you best luck for the I chair this committee.
Thank you,
and it's not an easy committee to chair. Hey, no, I'm just kind of coming in behind Seamus's point. I'm struggling to hear it bit tonight, Stevie, as well, and it's a lot of the rule councils are stuff in there. The only woman I could hear, well, there was Bernice for some unknown reason, and I could see her as well, but the rest of them have been hard to see. But best luck, please, okay?
Good on. Thank you. Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. And just to come in on what Seamus and Anthony have referred to, I'm personally not struggling, but maybe a suggestion, a practical suggestion that the officers can look into if those councillors who are struggling with broadband, maybe if they can be accommodated in the council building where the meeting's being hosted, because they'll have access to the broadband there, maybe in a different room or in some other socially distant.
There's multiple avenues available, so you know we're just asking people who are having issues to contact the staff either now, during the meeting, or afterwards, you know, so we can get hopefully something resolved. Councillor McElduff.
Just as our group leader, I want to emphasise Seamus Green's point. I think any barrier to democratic participation is something that needs to be taken most seriously. And I think Seamus is just experiencing a total shutdown in relation to his inability now to participate in the meeting. So we simply need to overcome this one.
Welcome.
Okay, sorry about that there, councillors. I'm aware Councillor Green may be joining us now via his landline, and I suppose if any other issue or councillors having similar issues, please make contact with James through myself or whatever means you have to make sure that you are connected. And I fully agree with that sentiment. You know, we must be all able to take part in whatever way we can to have this whole thing flowing. We're all going to need to be here and to be heard. Okay, folks, thank you. Moving on to 6.3. I think we're on. No, we're not. We're on 6.4. That's the States Matters. Again, a hefty report covering many issues across the council district. It's brought forward for noting So if I can take a proposer and seconder to note the document there, please. Councillor Coffey.
I'm happy to propose that it be noted, but I wanted to raise a couple of issues in so doing. The first is that the COVID testing centre in St. Angelo's Airport is going up for 6 months, and I'm just wondering, is that going to be long enough, really, for a test facility that's considering the potential? And also, is there any really? Because I did notice that we're now making more. We're actually making a revenue on that airport as opposed to previously, as per the accounts. I'm wondering if there is some revenue associated with that. That was one of the questions. And the second one, just in terms of Devonish Pathways scheme, I think that is a good scheme. It's an excellent scheme, and I'm very happy to support it. But I'm wondering, is there a possibility the council can look into opportunities to extend that into neighbouring estates? Because some of the estates next to it have even worse issues around basic pathways. And is there a possibility of the council doing something around that?
Okay. I'll take that there. I'll just invite Alison there. Just bear with us a wee second to get her live here.
That's fine. No, Chair, it's just specifically on the Devonish paths. Just to say, as Councillor O'Coffey might be aware, we've been successful working with Devonish Forum, particularly in relation to grant aid. So should suitable grant aid opportunities arise in other areas, including neighbouring estates, we would certainly investigate those. I know there had been some early prospects around possible additional neighbourhood renewal funding, but that seems to have dissipated this year, but we'll certainly keep it under active review. That's where the main funding source for that work has been.
Thanks, Alison. Right, number of speakers coming in here. I hope we're not all going to be very parochial and welcome and speak on every item there, but see how we go. Councillor McElduff.
Chair, not to over amplify the point, but there does be continuous problems throughout this meeting. It's just an issue just to note. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask James maybe to contact you there, Barry, just to see if we can get that resolved on your side. He's going to.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Councillor Feely. Councillor Feely, please.
Thank you. Happy to second, Steve. Second of the vote.
Councillor McAleer.
Thanks for letting me in. Just in relation to the trust of or the deed with rectification with Southwest College, just I missed that in terms of declaring an interest. And very briefly, in terms of point number 7, the electricity pole in Loch McCrory, I believe that's to be replaced with underground cabling, but I was just wanting to make sure, I suppose, wary of your point not to be parochial, that residents of Loch McCrory wouldn't be without electricity for an extended period of time as that work progresses.
Okay, noted. Thank you, Emmett. Thanks for that. So, proposed and seconded there. Happy to move on there, folks. So the number of speakers still up here who may have their hands up. Happy to move on. Okay, thank you. Where does that take us to, folks? So we're sitting there at 6.4. So moving on to 6.5, the estate strategy, paper H, fairly detailed piece of work, primarily through the transformation working group there, which is here for approval. So I'll invite Councillor Deehan here.
Thank you, Chair. I want to congratulate you on your appointment as Chair and wish you well for the upcoming year. And thanks, Celine, for her report. This is a very good piece of work. I want to welcome it. There are very many good initiatives that are important given the current issues regarding climate change and all of that. I think all of the issues are very worthwhile and very well explained. And I'm happy to propose the adoption of this report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Deehan. Councillor O'Coffey.
My apologies for being so slow there. I'm happy enough with it, but there's a couple of issues that I'm quite concerned with at the same time. There's a reference on page 6 to community asset transfer, which in principle I think is a good thing. But in the past, what we have seen is a community asset transfer where assets are being transferred to the community, but not the revenue support.
Sorry, Donald. Sorry, apologise. Folks, can you please ensure your microphones is on mute there? Thank you. Sorry, Donald, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's just that assets can be transferred to the community, but the revenue sources needed, resources needed to actually staff them and to provide the services are not. So I'm hugely concerned that I think if possible, I would propose that would be amended to say on a basis of adequate revenue support. The second point really is around on page 20. The second bullet point talks about the need to provide improved local recycling facilities, which is great, and collaborate in the development of a non-emission waste incinerator plant. Now, I'm just wondering, is the council agreed that we're going to collaborate in the development of an incinerator? And secondly, what is a non-emission incinerator? I've never heard of such a thing, so maybe somebody could educate me as to that. Thank you.
Okay, and you're happy to second that report, Donald, just while you're on there, is that correct? I think you said that at the start, maybe not.
I am, yeah, I am provided.
That's great. I'll get you that clarity there now. Is that Celine, possibly, or Celine, yeah?
Chair, so I suppose on the first point, just around community asset transfer, it is a relatively, although the term's familiar to us, it is a relatively new approach and is not particularly well developed. And obviously, any transfer of that nature then has to be supported by an appropriate business case, but can look at the wording around that. I'm trying to cast my mind back to the development of non-emission waste incinerator plant. I know certainly there is a business case at a very advanced stage for a collaborative project around a materials sorting development facility and then a new recycling centre and plant, and I believe that it may be part of that. So again, that might need to be just slightly reworded, and I'll double check with Kevin while he's still with us here to just on the details of that, and if there is any amendment to be made, I'll do that and would seek your approval of the document subject to those clarifications or amendments.
Okay, thank you, Celine. Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thanks, Stephen. I was coming in to propose or second, but I'm happy enough to support the proposal and second with the possible amendments that Celine will look into. So happy enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Councillor McAleer, we have got Councillor McAleer and then Councillor Barry McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, similar to the donor community transfer. So if his proposal needs seconding, or if it's agreed that Celine maybe or the directors are going to work on come back to us, I would support that.
That's going to come back.
Second, if need be.
It doesn't require a second. I think it's going to come back. Aye.
No worries. So, and it's just worth noting, I suppose, page 5 of the document, there's a heading, we live and work sustainably, protecting our environment. So I suppose just given what is going on in our area, it's worth bearing in mind throughout this process. But yeah, that's the Chair. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Emmett. Thanks a million. Councillor McElduff.
Just taking it down, sorry, Chair.
Good man. Okay, so that's proposed and seconded, and I presume we're all in agreement. Happy days. Okay, 6.6, paper A. This is the director's report, corporate governance and that's not reading right. Corporate services and governance. Apologies. Paper A. There's 3 recommendations to this report. They're all for noting, by the way. It's to note the registration service delivery during COVID, the market and communications activities, and then the elected member development charter award and Nilga Regional Learning and Development Programme there. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose a recommendation, and I welcome the workshop that was held regarding marketing and communications activities, and I look forward to that being developed in the future. Thank you.
Anne-Marie. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you, Chair. Very happy to second the recommendations.
Thanks, Howard. And we're happy to progress, folks. Okay, so we're item 7. We'll see where are we now. Correspondence, and I'll just hand over to Alison to take us through that piece of the meeting, please.
Thank you, Chair. 2 items of correspondence. The first from the Department for Communities, and this relates to the Council's award for COVID-19 funding support. This just arrived with us on the 8th of June, and you'll have seen that from the allocation awarded by the Department for Communities. The Council has been awarded just over 1.79 million, Chair, something which would be very welcome. And really, Chair, this would be, we'll obviously have a substantive discussion later on around some financial matters, but I am aware that some councils are formally issuing a letter of thanks for the funding awarded by the department.
Councillor Michael Duff.
Thank you, Chair. Just to ask Alison, yes, I think we should be writing our appreciation to the department for that. However, I would ask the additional question, how much did we bid for and how much is the shortfall, you know? Thank you.
Chair, I suppose we'll be going into some of the detail of the financial matters later on, but just to say this correlates very closely to our original bid, and there's only been a small disallowance from this, so we'd certainly be satisfied with the allocation on the basis of our submission to the department.
Barry, can I take that as a proposal to note that document? Are you happy?
Yes, proposal to note, and to follow the actions of other councils appropriately, to thank the department for that allocation. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Councillor O'Coffey.
All right, yeah, I'm having problems. Okay, my main query is really around what proportion did the council receive of that money? Obviously, if we've received everything we've looked for, then that is good news. But obviously, the Department for Communities has come under criticism recently around the food parcels. But my main issue is really around how that was worked out.
Chair, just to say the full breakdown of the 11 council allocations are available on the Department for Communities website, and it was linked to the actual bid that council. So this wasn't done by a pro rata methodology. This was on the basis of our submissions to the department, and specifically around loss of income. I think it's just over 8.8% is our overall percentage.
Okay, and I think we're going to touch on that in some detail later on in the meeting as well. Councillor Irvine.
Thanks very much, Stevie. I'm happy to second the proposal as noting the documentation, and to also second Barry's proposal to actually write back to DFC and thank them for the money. Just a quick query back to Alison. I would hope that this is one of many checks that we might receive from the department, because our losses tied into COVID-19 will not stop now. So it's thankful to get it, and hopefully we'll get some more. Thanks very much, Steve.
We live in hope. Thank you, Robert. Councillor Curry. And Councillor Curry's hands down, and Councillor Armstrong. Diana. Hands down as well. And Barry, your hand may be up as well. If you just want to confirm it's down, we can move on. Okay, perfect. Thank you, folks. 7.2 then, so yes. Correspondence from the Department of Health. Alison?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Members may already be aware of some of the detail of this, Chair. It was issued to us yesterday, and the reason it's on your agenda this evening is the deadline, as you have seen, for initial responses is next Tuesday, the 16th of June. And this really is the Minister's proposals around the rebuilding of health and social care services. So appended to the letter, Chair, is the proposed, there's a memorandum, which is a temporary amendment of the Health and Social Care Framework document for the period from June 20 to May 2022, and the suggested terms of reference, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Alison, for your report, and I want to propose that we note this correspondence. However, I will comment that this is a very lengthy document. It is a very complex document. It is also a vital document because it sets out how we move forward in terms of new normal ways of working. And it involves a lot of collaboration between primary, secondary care and community care. And what I would like to propose, I regret the very short timeline for response, and I think that at this stage, unless anyone has any serious concerns, we should accept the document in good faith. But what I would like to propose is that we should make this a specific agenda item for the next meeting of our Health and Social Care group, and that maybe we should try to have a meeting of that group as soon as possible, because I mean the issues in relation to health and social care provision are changing so rapidly that and the changes are so important for this district that we need to ensure that they're addressed as quickly as possible. I mean, unless we can get an extraordinary meeting to discuss this paper between now and Tuesday, then I think we have little option but to note it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Deehan. I think we are meeting again in July from memory. Yeah, so next meeting scheduled for July every quarter. Councillor O'Coffey.
I'm thankful for you letting me come in, because I have a fairly diametrically opposed position to that of the last speaker. I took time to really read this twice today, and it's one of the most scary documents that I've ever seen issued around healthcare reform. The department is the language used. It sets it in the context of a devastating impact on programs and projects, and it seems to me that the COVID crisis is being used as an excuse, really, to achieve all the cutbacks and reforms that that they have failed to achieve because of opposition from people trying to defend local health services. They're proposing to establish a new quango alongside all the others, Management Board for Rebuilding HSC Services, another quango to take forward a program of reform. I note in particular they're changing the department's own powers to allow it to provide to take decisions without consultation. On the top of page 6, it says, where the department's of an opinion that because of the urgency of the matter, it is necessary to act without consultation. So the former requirement on departments to actually consult communities, those affected over decisions, it will go out the window with this document. And I'm very concerned that there is some degree of consultation around framework documents, but when it comes to closing down services or rationalization, there is no consultation. And then when you look all the way through the document, it's peppered with references to embedding innovation and transformation. These are great words, but usually the great words mean the opposite. It means innovation and transformation is taking services in rural areas, prioritizing services, prioritizing as in some will be deprioritized. And then in terms of embedding innovations that have emerged during the pandemic. Now, there may be innovations that's quite good that have emerged during the pandemic, but there's also probably drastic cuts to services that they may be able to effectively get away with. So there's nothing in here about rural proofing. There's nothing in here about access for rural communities to services. I believe that this is a charter over the next 2 years for the department to run down our local health services, and I'm hugely concerned by it.
Okay, thank you. Your comments there is noted, and I've no doubt you'll definitely articulate them in the Health and Social Care group once we get round to that in July. Councillor Swift.
Yeah, Garamagat Kahirluk. Well, I appreciate and understand the previous two speakers, their opinions, and I'm so inclined to suggest that I thought Donald was going to make a proposal there in halting the allowance of proceeding without consultation, because as he has already articulated, those words about reform usually mean cuts, etc., and innovation usually means the opposite for us. So I wouldn't be content or satisfied. And we must remember as well, our Western Health and Social Care Trust meeting aren't the people who are responsible for, the board, and we've had that discussion, you remember, Stephen, at the last meeting. So, it would be kind of a futile and pointless exercise waiting until July to speak to them, because obviously this decision is taken at departmental level. So I propose, and hopefully Donald will second what, everything he was suggesting there, then, that we just say, no way, Jose, to this suggestion, because we have to protect our services in the West. And if Seamus Green was still online, I know he would be supporting the same. We can't be allowing the running down of our rural services, and particularly in this COVID time of all the complex and varied needs that there will be and mental health. You know, we just can't allow this to go ahead. So propose then that we write back and saying we are not accepting this as a process. Gurmagat.
Thank you, Bernice. And Donal, I'll allow you very briefly to come in if you wish to second that. Very briefly.
I got carried away, upset over it. I didn't even propose what I wanted to do, which is exactly what Bernice has done. So thank you, Bernice.
Excellent. Thank you, folks. Okay, Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, second that, but I'm definitely supported. I think the three things that have been identified there, the transformation or removal of services, the introduction of another quango, which this, like the health service is on its knees, due in a principal way to the amount of quangos that we already have. And thirdly, this idea that the department can see fit to bring in, without consultation, measures that it sees fit. The three of these things, you know, we have to meet these head on. So fully supportive of the last two speakers, and possibly when Councillor Deehan gets a chance to read through the document, I would imagine she might be on board as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, Councillor Keenan, I have next. Hands down, thanks. Councillor Deehan, Councillor Anthony Feely.
Thanks for hearing. Now, just in case Seamus can't come in in support of all the people in the rural areas too. I was going to back Bernice, or stop, not back. Second Bernice is there, but myself and Donal has it done. Just support the people in the rural areas. Okay, Stephen.
Okay, brilliant. Councillor Deehan, you're making a return here in this matter.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, I fully appreciate the concerns that have been raised by previous speakers. The fact of the matter is, though, that this is not meant to be a consultation document. I mean, the response time is next Tuesday, and we simply do not have time to make a formal response to it. We certainly can express our reservations, but one thing that we mustn't do is we mustn't do anything as a council that would jeopardise anything that would delay the return to normal services. And there is widespread acceptance within the medical profession that, you know, we are going to have to establish a new normal way of working. Now, prior to the COVID centre, we had many areas that were urgently in need of reforming. And indeed, there was a transformation agenda and many initiatives to look at better ways of doing things. This document is imperfect. It does contain a number of threats to rural practices. One of the reasons I was suggesting that we bring forward the meeting of the Health and Social Care Group and have even as a single item agenda is to discuss this in detail so that we can consider some proposals to the department. But desperate situations require desperate measures. And it was for that reason that, given the situation we're in, that I am proposing that we note this correspondence, that at this stage we accept we are where we are until we have a time to consider the document and the implications and make a considered response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Deehan. Councillor Catherine Kelly.
Yes, Stevie, congratulations and good luck in your role. I just, in regards to the quango, it's not a quango. It is, it's the department, it's members of the BSO, it's members of different people in the department who are going to make up this new management board. Now, that's not to say that this is not a troubling development. It is a very troubling development, not least because the permanent secretary, Richard Pengelly, is deciding health policy for my community, a community he's probably never visited in his life. The other part of it is that it's going to be health policy is going to be guided by experts. And the problem around that is that we could end up with a situation like SAGE, where there's no transparency, and these experts aren't named and advised. So there are a lot of problems with this. Josephine's right, it's not a consultation document, but it's incorrect to say that it's in Uquango. As far as I know, it's not in Uquango. It is a management board with department heads from the HSC and headed by Richard Pengelly.
Okay, so Catherine, you can keep me right here. I sense you're along the same thinking generally as Councillor Deehan to be a second to note that document then, so am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maguire?
I'm going to carry. Well, I have to say that, like every rural councillor or rural politician, when we hear about reform and improvement to anything, it usually doesn't bode well for us out in Fermanagh. I heard a reflection on the reforms on the radio the other day. If you bear with me, Chair, just to reiterate what was said, it will indicate my sentiments entirely. The reporter indicated that most politicians are in support of reform of the health service, but once it comes to the closure of a hospital in their area, it will change the political landscape.
Slightly wandering off point, Tommy.
Sorry, the point being, Stephen, is that I too, like Bernice and Donald, would be very, very sceptical of any reforms of the health, again, with our rural area being the most important thing for us as local politicians.
Absolutely. Gormagat, Councillor McGeer. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Interesting debate. I'm prepared to support Councillor Deehan's proposal. It's a quite a long document and it's very complex in its nature, but I think we need to study it and give a proper appraisal of it. So I'm prepared to support Councillor Deehan's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move to a resolution here, move to the way forward. Councillor Deehan has proposed, seconded by Councillor Catherine Kelly, that we note this document. Are we all in agreement?
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Okay, we're moving on. Thank you.
No.
Okay, I'll seek guidance from the Chief Executive. I did say we'd move on there. There's an ample opportunity for you to comment there. Sorry, apologise. Sorry, yeah.
There's a second proposal.
There's a second proposal, that's correct, Emmett. Yeah, I'm just being advised of that. There is indeed. There is indeed. Okay, so we'll move to Councillor Deehan's proposal to note, first of all. Oh, sorry, apologise. Yes, of course. Yeah, okay. So Councillor Swift's proposal, seconded by Councillor O'Coffey, I believe. Are we in agreement with that?
No.
Okay, so we're not in agreement. Simple as that. Just a reminder, folks, can you lower your hands there, please? There's a number of hands.
Can I get a recorded vote on this?
Recorded vote, yeah, no problem. Okay.
Sorry, Chair, for clarification, what is the specific proposal that Donald and Bernice have made? I'm minded to agree with the noting of this document, but to be vigilant as we go forward. If I could get clarification what the proposal was, please, Chair.
Okay, no problem. If I just invite Councillor Swift to just outline her proposal again there, please.
Yes, well, really, and Tommy has sort of already said it, and it is about being concerned, aware and vigilant about, I suppose, the veiled language that's held within that document. And I appreciate what Josephine has said too, and obviously we always listen to what Josephine has to say coming from her expert background, but I do have the concerns that Donald has outlined too. So really, I had wished to contact the department again on this issue, and we definitely require further time to consider it. So it's not that I disagree with what Josephine has said about noting it either. I don't want to cause a big argument, but we're a rural area and we need to be very concerned. Gurmagat.
Okay, thank you, Bernice. So we're going to take your proposal first. Just going to run through the names here for a recorded vote. So if you listen for your name there, please, and we'll try and get through it as quickly as we can. So Councillor Diana Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. This is Bernice's.
This is Bernice's.
Proposal.
Yes.
Against.
Councillor Baird.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Blake.
For.
Councillor Mark Buchanan.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Glenn Campbell. Councillor Sean Clark. Sean isn't here. Councillor John Coyle.
Against.
Councillor Siobhan Corey.
Against.
Councillor Josephine Deehan.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Against.
Councillor Sean Donnelly.
Against.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Keith Elliott.
Against.
Councillor Deborah Erskine.
Against.
Councillor Anthony Feely. Anthony. I'll come back to you, Anthony, if you're having problems getting in. I'll come back to you, okay? Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald.
Against.
Councillor Adam Gannon.
Against.
Mary Garrity.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Seamus Green. Are we here? Seamus here? No. Okay. Councillor Robert Irvine.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Eamon Keenan. Okay. Councillor Catherine Kelly.
Against.
Padraig Kelly.
Against, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Against, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Emmett McAleer.
I'm in favour of that. Some interesting voting.
Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
Aye. Against.
Councillor Stephen McCann against. Councillor John McClary.
Against.
Councillor Barry Michael Duff.
And I against.
Councillor Garvin McPhillips.
Against, Chair.
Councillor Donald Coffey.
I'm for defending health services.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Against.
Councillor Alan Rainey. Do we have you there, Alan? I'll come back to you if you can hear me there, Alan. I'll come back to you in a few seconds. Councillor Paul Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Chris Smith.
Against.
Councillor Bernice Swift.
For my proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Earl Thompson.
Against.
Councillor Howard Thornton.
Against, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Victor Warrington.
Against.
And Councillor Bert Wilson.
Against.
Thank you. I'll go back here to Councillor Anthony Feely. Anthony.
Hello, Steve. I'm having fierce problems here, Steve. I can't get in right here at the minute. You know, can you hear me there right now?
I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'll have to go against that, Steve.
Thank you, Anthony. That's perfect. And Councillor, that's fine, Anthony. That'll do. And Councillor Alan Rainey, do we have you there now? I'll take guidance from the group leader there as to what way to proceed. Councillor Warrington.
Councillor Rainey will be voting against.
Probably can't.
No. Wouldn't. I'm not accepting
okay.
that.
Do we have Councillor Rainey?
Chair, can I write into the chat function? Would that be a possibility if it's done one other night?
He's actually there and his mic seems to be off.
Just to say, Chair, for a recorded vote, I think the member formally has to. I don't think we can take a chat for a formally recorded vote.
Fair enough. Okay. I'll take it then. So I'll note that Councillor Rainey is absent then. So. Okay. So we're going to move on there. Go ahead.
Stevie, just I'm not sure that it was covered just in the initial proposal to note, but it does state in that letter that given the grave situation, at the bottom of page 2. They're looking for soundings on the proposed amendments. I would like to propose that we do, as a council, apologies, Stevie, but that we do actually let them know that we're not happy.
Siobhan, I'll come back to you in a wee second. We're going to deal with this particular proposal first, if you're happy enough, just to get this done. We've took that vote, so if I can get this put to bed first, if you're happy, and then I'll let you back in just to outline that. Okay, I'll just invite Alison just to comment on that vote.
There's Councillor Rainey now, Chair.
Can we accept that?
We haven't announced, so if you wish, Chair.
That's grand. Councillor Rainey, we're looking for your indication on this particular motion, for or against.
I was against it on my opinion.
No problem. No problem. That's good.
Altogether.
No problem. Okay, so there is a number of IT issues as well, which we're picking up on. So we're going to have a look at that as well at some stage. Okay, so Alison, I'd like you to come in there.
So, Chair, we had 6 members for, 32 members against, so that proposal falls.
Okay, Councillor Corey.
Margaret, Stevie, and to Bronor, I was a bit quick just jumping in there, but it does say that they are seeking an initial time limited taking of soundings. You know, I'm not happy that they've given us a week to do this. I think it's a disgrace, but I do appreciate the situation we're finding ourselves in. So can I propose that we do write back and indicate, you know, some of the matters have been well covered there, what we're not happy with, and put those forward as our soundings from this council. Gormagat, thank you.
Chair, point of order, please.
Just bear with me, Donald. We do have a second proposal currently on the table from Councillor Deehan, seconded by Councillor Kelly. I'm going to have to deal with that one as well before we can take any other proposals. Councillor Curry, okay. So yours is on the table at the moment. Are we in agreement with Councillor Deehan's proposal that we note this document?
Yes. Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Unionist Party, agreed.
Is there dissension out there?
Would you mind if I just came in a second?
Briefly, Josephine.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I mean, I did preface my remarks that, you know, this is a document which is an emergency document in my view. And I mean, I did say that we need time to discuss this, and the forum for discussing it is in the Health and Social Care group. And I did say that, you know, that it should be an agenda item, even as a single item agenda at the earliest opportunity. And following on from that discussion, that we should write back to the department with our views on this, because I am in agreement with members who voice concern regarding the impact that any of these changes potentially could have on rural healthcare, not least of which is the provision of GP services in this area, which are very much at risk. So I'm very invested in this process, but I do feel that change is necessary. And for anyone who saw Spotlight last night, they will see that the way the health service is operating at present leaves patients very much exposed. We urgently need to change the way we do things. So I think the minister needs that support from us at this time, but we're not accepting everything carte blanche. So we're noting this correspondence with a view to having a detailed discussion and comments back to the department when we've had that discussion.
Okay, thank you for that, Josephine.
There simply isn't time.
Okay, thank you for that. Folks, can I just ask you if you don't intend to speak on this, and I do plan to move on fairly shortly. There's a number of hands remaining up, I'm told here. So if you don't intend to speak, please take down your hand there now. I'm going to allow in, there's a couple of speakers have been in already in this. You aren't getting in twice, folks. I'm going to allow Councillor Swift here briefly.
I'll be very quick, Stephen, and really Siobhan's after coming in and proposing what really I'd already outlined, and the reason why I had said it wasn't appropriate to bring it back to the Social Care Trust meeting was at our last meeting they had said that wasn't the appropriate place to discuss departmental matters, so it was on that knowledge alone that I was avoiding that as a route, because as I said, it would be futile. So I don't want want this to escalate into anything divisionary, like other proposals, and it's unfortunate that it's taken up a bit of time. But certainly what Siobhan's after saying is no different from what I have outlined, and I am disappointed with that vote already, if that's the case. And if I haven't been clear, well, by gosh, it'll have to go into writing in future. Gormagat.
Thank you. I've got 4 speakers left: Councillor Catherine Kelly, Siobhan Curry, Tommy Maguire, and Barry Michael Duff. After that, folks, we're moving on. Councillor Kelly. Hands down. Councillor Siobhan Curry.
So I'm sorry, I don't need to speak on it again.
Okay. Councillor Curry. Siobhan. Siobhan's hands down. Councillor Maguire. Hands down. Councillor Barry Michael Duff.
Sorry, Chair.
Okay, thank
you. Go ahead, Barry. Go ahead there, Barry. Barry, you're on mute there if you're looking to come in.
Okay, am I okay now? Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Chair, I would like to ask Councillor Curry in relation to her proposed letter to the Department of Health if we could specifically include the following: that we emphasise the defence and further building of acute services at the Southwest Acute Hospital in Enniskillen, that we also emphasise the need to build services at the Oma Hospital and Primary Care Complex, and that we invest in our GP services as a matter of priority. Those suggestions, proposals, that the Department of Health be left in no doubt about our intentions in this area, the southern sector of the Western Thrust, to protect and develop our services.
Thanks, Barry. Okay, that's Barry Michael Duff there. We're going to move on, folks. Here, Siobhan, see in light of the commentary from Councillor Deehan and Councillor Michael Duff, etc., do you want to restate your position on the proposal, or are we happy to endorse what we have on the table already?
Stevie, Gormagat, I think we should. I fully accept what Dr. Dean saying there, but it's a way away, and they are looking for some kind. They're giving us the opportunity, let's put it like that, to respond with initial soundings by next Tuesday, and I would like to formally propose that, and I'm very, very happy to take on board what Corrier McElduff and indeed Corrier Swift has said in it.
Okay, can I take a seconder for your proposal, Councillor Curry?
Anthony here.
Anthony seconded that. Okay, so that remains 2 proposals. Sorry, folks, that remains. There's still 2 proposals on the table: Councillor Deehan's and Councillor Curry's. I'm going to deal with Councillor Deehan's first in order they were made. Are we in agreement? And that is to note the documentation.
No.
Okay, we aren't in agreement. Okay. Sure. Okay, so there's dissension there. I'm going to run through very quickly, folks, just again. Preferences here. So starting off with Councillor Armstrong.
Councillor Deaton's proposal, I agree. Again, I'm for it.
Okay. Just bear with me a second there, Councillor Armstrong. I'll just get a fresh sheet. Thanks. Okay, so you're for Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Baird.
For.
Councillor Paul Blake.
For.
Councillor Mark Buchanan.
For.
Councillor Glenn Campbell.
For.
Councillor Sean Clark. Not here. Councillor John Coyle.
For.
Councillor Siobhan Curry.
And I again.
Councillor Josephine Deehan.
For.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Sean Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Keith Elliott.
4.
Councillor Deborah Erskine.
4.
Councillor Anthony Feely. Anthony. Anthony, I'll come back to you. Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald.
Against.
Councillor Adam Gannon.
4.
Councillor Mary Garrity.
4, Chair.
Councillor Seamus Green's not here. Councillor Robert Irvine.
4, Chair.
Councillor Eamon Keenan.
I will be against.
Councillor Catherine Kelly.
4.
Councillor Podgeen Kelly. We have Poddy still there. Welcome back, Poddy. Councillor Tommy Maguire. Councillor Emmett McAleer.
No, it's inadequate, so I'm against that.
Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
High 4.
Councillor Stephen McCann, 4. Councillor John McClaughry.
4.
Councillor Barry Michael Duff.
4.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Garvin McPhillips.
4, Chair.
Councillor Dunglo Coffey.
Against.
Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
4.
Councillor Alan Rainey.
4.
Councillor Johnson.
4.
Councillor Chris Smith.
4.
Councillor Bernice Swift.
Against.
Councillor Errol Thompson.
4.
Councillor Howard Thornton.
4.
And Councillor Victor Warrington.
4.
Councillor Bert Wilson.
4.
Thank you, folks. I'll go back here to Anthony Feely. Councillor Feely. Anthony, if you can hear me there, if you can indicate even in the chat function.
Can you hear me now, Steve?
Yes, go ahead, Anthony.
Hello, hi, Steve. I'm finding the whole thing very confusing, and I'm going to say one thing. I'm not against cutting any service in the rural areas. So I'm going
just take a Anthony. Okay.
Abstaining this vote, Steve. Abstaining.
And Councillor Podgeen Kelly, if she's there. Okay, I'll just defer to the Chief Executive just to summarise where we're at in that. And then we're moving on, folks.
Sorry, Chair. I have that 34 and 6 against and 1 abstention.
Okay, so that motion is carried to note that correspondence. Are we happy enough for that then, guys? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That takes us on to item 8 on the agenda, staff matters. This paper has got a number of recommendations which are before us for noting. Just before I just take this item, if I can ask you all to drop your hands there, just to help Damien out. Councillor Irvine.
Come to the vote, Chair.
Yeah, it was passed to note that correspondence on. We're moving on.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose that we note the recommendations at 8.1 to 5 proposed. Thank you.
Can I take a seconder for that, please?
Seconded, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Earl. Are we all agreed? Perfect. Love it. Okay. So at this juncture, I'll just bear with me a wee second, folks. Okay, thanks, folks. So we've got through the bulk of the agenda. I'm going to go back now to matters arising of the previous Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on the 11th of March. If you wish in, folks, if you just indicate by unmuting and coming in. I'm going to start page 1. 2.
Chair.
Go ahead.
Councillor McAleer here. Just in relation to the issue of video recording of meetings, and I know this is something that's been looked at before, but having spoken to some of the members in Derry and Strabane District Council, the prices that we were quoted seem absolutely extortionate compared to figures that were provided by some of the members there. So I would propose that we actually relook at this, whether it's something that we can facilitate through the online streaming services such as YouTube that we're utilising now, and I know it's mentioned, I think, later in the report. But I would propose that we actually look at continuing with the YouTube streaming of meetings for as long as we can do, definitely whilst we're streaming, while we're meeting virtually, but with a view to actually investigating how that could be looked at within the council chamber, or in conjuncture with the Derry and Strabane Council, looking at how we can source reasonably priced video equipment to actually record our meetings.
Okay, Celine, do you want to come in there?
Through the chair, I mean, members will appreciate that we are now live streaming tonight and have been since the last council meeting, and I suppose that does demonstrate that where we have access to the technology, we're certainly willing to facilitate that. And I would point out one issue is that we would be looking at 2 chambers, which is different from Derry City and Strabane, so you automatically double the costs in that respect. But certainly if there is a way... Can you hear me?
Go ahead. No, it's grand. It's okay.
If there is a way in which that we can continue with this, or whether there's some sort of blended or hybrid approach, that's certainly what we will be undertaking to do in terms of support and this. So yes, there's no issue with that. We're happy to take that forward.
Okay, Councillor Coffey.
Chair, I think that I'd like to second the proposal there from Councillor McAleer. I think we were quoted figures from memory was £1,000 an hour for effectively broadcasting these meetings, and we're now doing it. I don't know what the cost is of this. These
Celine's touched on that there as well, so she has. So
it seems to me that we did raise questions at the time about how we arrived at these figures, which did seem extraordinary. But if we can somehow embed it, it would be great in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen Donnelly. Councillor Stephen Donnelly, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to second that, but I would just say I think that it would be a good idea to revisit this, just so for the aid of transparency.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We're all agreed. Happy days. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5.
Sorry, just I'm on page 4 in relation to the Disability Advisory Group, and I had spoken, I suppose, briefly with Alison in relation to this, but earlier in the week, myself and the chair of the council, Chris Smith, participated in an online meeting with some disability activists. And it was noted that the next meeting of the Disability Advisory Group isn't scheduled until sometime in September. And they expressed a great concern that, I suppose, as we move to ease the restrictions following on from this COVID-19 pandemic, that they thought that was quite late in terms of concerns that they would have as people who are shielding. So I'm not sure of the specific date that is currently on the calendar for the Disability Advisory Group meeting, but I was wondering if there's a way of bringing that forward. If not to a date in June, possibly a date in July prior to the split of the council for the summer. So I'd like to make that as a proposal and just maybe double check with Alison what we can do in terms of that.
Chair, just to say we can certainly know officers have been working with members of the group. I suppose there are a number of logistics as Councillor McAleer has maybe highlighted. So we do have to think of the some who may be shielding, have other conditions and so on. But certainly the principle of trying to bring the date forward, we're happy to explore that, and we will notify members of that revised arrangement in due course, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Go ahead, Councillor Warrington.
Yeah, well, I just want to come in on that. Yes, as chair of the Disability Advisory Group, there is no problem with pulling the meeting forward if the officers can get a date that suits. Certainly I would agree with that, because I know the Alexa Dermot and that would be very keen to get talking. Thank you.
So you're happy to second that, Victor?
Yeah, I'll second it.
And we're all agreed. Happy days. Okay. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. 11. Page 12. 13. 14. Page 15. Page 16. 17. 18. 19. Page 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. Seeing you indicating there at all? No.
Chair, yes, if I could just give an update on page 23, the recommendation in relation to item 8, the employee health and wellbeing. There was the proposal that there would be further analysis of absence patterns to assist further approaches and initiatives, and obviously the situation that we're now in has superseded that, and I would just be suggesting that that's something that we would take up again next year, but we won't be reporting back specifically on that because the patterns are obviously very different now.
That's fully understandable given the climate we're in. Okay, so that was 23, 24, 25. Councillor Deehan, are you indicating there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. No, just as the councillor who proposed that, I fully accept that because of these unusual times, it wouldn't be possible to get an accurate analysis of sickness sequences. So I
absolutely
accept that and agree with Celine.
Thank you, Councillor Deehan. Okay, so and that's page 26 then, the final page of that document. Item 9, any other relevant business. I've been notified of only one item which was dealt with under matters arising there. Alison has got an item here. Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. It's just for noting, and it's just to advise members that Councillor Swift's term as a member of the Drainage Council for Northern Ireland has been extended by the Minister. Now that is in light of the difficulties in completing the recruitment processes in light of COVID-19. So it's really just for members' information at this point, Chair, to advise that the Minister has extended all of the councillor appointments on that, and we will be advised in due course when the new nominations are made and confirmed.
Okay, thank you. More, Bernice, for the time ahead. Councillor Deehan, are you indicating there? Or maybe it's Councillor Swift, sorry, Councillor Swift.
Just Goramagat, that's fine, thank you for that. And just Stephen, the issue with the bandwidth and all that there this evening, and it was something that wasn't mentioned last night when we were discussing full fibre, and it's just appropriate to bring it up here now. The fact that the junior ministers are unable to meet us to discuss under that project stratum, and perhaps the chief executive could get back to them to press the urgency on this, given, you know, that this is the new moves ahead, and it's not acceptable that there isn't some time in the diary date to speak to us and meet with us virtually. Goramagat.
You've done well, Bernice, to get that sneaked in there. You've done well.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Alison, do you want to comment on that? Is that?
What a note, Chair. Maybe just to note for members that we actually do have correspondence coming from the First and Deputy.
You're mute, Alison.
I'm sorry, Chair, just to advise members, we do have correspondence on Project Stratum from the Office of the First and Deputy First Minister coming next week to the reconvened council meeting, and my understanding is while the Minister for the Economy is considering an invitation to meet with the council, there won't be any other ministerial meetings at this stage.
Okay. Councillor McElduff, are you looking in at this point?
Good, and congratulations on the way you've conducted the meeting tonight. You've done your best, absolutely, and doing well. But in a spirit of trying to unify the council on crucial health issues, can I propose that we write to the Department of Health, to the Minister of Health, Robin Swan, and that we emphasise 3 points. 1, the need to retain and develop acute services at the South West Acute Hospital in Enniskillen. 2, the need to develop services at the Omagh Hospital and Primary Care Complex. And 3, that there is a comprehensive investment programme in our GP services in our rural council area, the southern sector of the Western Health Trust area. I'm making that a proposal, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Curry. Now, folks, there's a number of people looking to come in here. You haven't indicated to me that you want to come in under AOB. So I've got Councillor Curry and Councillor Adam Gannon, and we're moving on. Councillor Curry.
Gurmagada Kahirley, and well done on chairing tonight. I'd like to second that, please. I don't think I need to say any more on it. Gurmagada.
Councillor Gannon, briefly again, you know the correct by coming in under AOB. Go ahead.
You, Chair, just quickly on the, obviously Barry's proposal excellent and support, but I was going to say on that issue of the correspondence RE project stratum, and just to clarify for Alison, that means that the junior ministers will not meet, and it is the Minister for the Economy who is considering meeting us. Thank you.
Chair, that's my understanding, and we'll have that next week.
Donald, 60 seconds, please. Councillor O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Just this motion that's now before us, obviously it's well meant, but I would, the wording that we're calling for the support and development of acute services at SWA, there are a lot more than acute services at SWA, and I think we need to obviously extend all medical services at SWA needs to be supported, not just the ones.
There's no doubt. Absolutely, and there's no issue with that. We're all in agreement with that. Okay, folks.
Incorporate that sentiment into my motion. Thank Councillor Coffey.
Okay, thank you, and I'm sure the seconder would agree as well. Okay, can I get a proposer and seconder to go into confidential matters, please?
Propose Councillor Garty, Chair.
Thank you, Mary.
Councillor Irvine. Councillor Thompson.
Second of Councillor Irvine. And I'll just give the guys a second to sort out the mechanics here.